commits
That's not what you said. Sir, you voted against a bill that mandated the deportation of illegals convicted of sex crimes. Do you regret that vote now?
No, I don't regret that vote. Look, no bill is perfect, and many times...
What if it was your wife, your sister, your daughter that was raped? That's a sex crime. You want that person to stay?
Look, there are multiple things in a bill. I don't agree with every one of them.
Sir, you got to answer the question.
So let's check in today on who I might refer to as the Democrat Party's top political ambassador when it comes to immigration, because if you ever wanted an example of what Democrats actually believe about immigration and what they think it should look like, that would be a walking, talking Congressman Shri Thanedar. Many of you may recognize this as the character who has attempted to impeach Trump about 4 different times in the past year. Now he's calling to abolish ICE, and he's of course doing so while first of all looking like he crawled out of a failed plastic surgery experiment, and secondly can barely speak English, right? Like, the guy is hardly even intelligible, which is just utterly hilarious, because as I commented here, and even Elon Musk responded because he thought it was hilarious, right? It's hilarious how Democrats can never find a spokesman on immigration policy that is not the worst possible example of immigration policy. It's hysterical and almost cartoonish. It seems like a comedy sketch that, oh, we're going to get out there and talk about liberal immigration reform, abolishing ICE because, you know, immigrants are the best of us, the diversity is our strength, and our ambassador to do so is not even intelligible because he can't speak English. But for whatever reason, this guy is now apparently trying to level up his national image, and he decided last night to go on Fox News with Sean Hannity to show, actually, no, apparently conservatives are super wrong about this guy. He's very smart. He knows what he's talking about. He definitely understands American politics on a very basic level. And as you could expect how it went, not only was he barely intelligible, but he seemed as if he didn't even understand the questions that were being asked. Okay, and I can barely even discern what the answer was there, but let's just react to this interview here today, guys. It's just utterly hilarious. And again, I say, right, this is what the Democrats believe about immigration. Here it is. It's Congressman Shri Thanedar, and after all, right, it matches their rhetoric perfectly. Here you have a model immigrant, according to them, who, you know, obviously comes from a non-white third world country. Okay, check. That's just amazing diversity. He's barely able to be understood. You know, that's even better, don't you know, because speaking English apparently is evil, and he's impeaching Trump and now wants to abolish ICE. So let's tune in today, guys, and find out why. This is going to be a pretty entertaining reaction. First, though, do us a favor. If you enjoy our content, make sure you hit that like button down below. Subscribe to the channel if you are new. We greatly appreciate it. And that said, let's just get into this. Okay, so here's what the Democrats believe about immigration.
That's a bill that passed the House with bipartisan support. And despite dedicating so much time, effort, energy, publicly supporting illegal immigrants, well, Thanedar has made little to no effort ever mentioning any of the victims of criminal illegal aliens, including those Americans victimized in his own state. And anyway, here to respond, Michigan Congressman Shri Thanedar is with us. Just to be clear, the president's joint session speech when he honored the family of Laken Riley, murdered 24-year-old nursing student, murdered by an unvetted illegal immigrant, and honored little Jocelyn Nungary's family, brutally raped and murdered a 12-year-old girl. Did you stand? Did you give honor to that family that lost so much?
Look, Sean, thanks for having me.
I don't need the thanks. Did you stand or not? Did you stand to honor those families?
I did not stand because the president.
You sat on your ass.
I was just sick of the president.
So I want to be clear.
I did not.
You sat on your ass, and you wouldn't stand for families of that lost children. A 12-year-old girl raped and murdered, and you couldn't stand for them because you were playing politics. Is that right? I want this audience to know.
Look, I would not stand for this president. I would not stand for this president. He was lying.
You weren't standing for them. You were standing for the families that lost little girls that were murdered by the illegal immigrants that you want to remain in the country. Is that true or false?
Look, Look, this president was using a tragedy.
I'm not talking
such as
about it.
Riley's death.
What about those families? Have you ever picked up a phone? Because there are thousands of Americans that have been murdered and raped and victims of violent crime. Have you ever spoken to any? Have you ever called them to offer your condolences? Name one family. Name one family.
Look, every immigrant, everyone must follow American laws.
Have you ever picked up a phone and called a victim's family?
Look, I talk to my constituents
Not a hard
all the
question.
time.
Not hard.
Yeah, I do.
Have you ever
I do.
picked up your phone and called them? Have you done that one time?
Look, I talk with my constituents all the time. My constituents are being terrorized by ICE.
Have you ever called an American family?
So already you're starting to notice a pattern, which is he doesn't answer the question. And before you think, oh, maybe it's a dodgy politician, I would just like to present the possibility that perhaps he doesn't even understand the question. You know what I mean? Right? Should I say this? It's just the truth, though. It's just the truth. Literally the other day, I had to get on the phone with Amazon tech support, and it was extremely frustrating because she didn't understand what I was trying to explain to her, okay? I had to clarify about 4 different times, and that was a normal experience. But here's the thing, right? If you're frustrated that every time you call a customer support, it's this exact experience. It seems very familiar, does it not? All right, they're going to say I'm racist. No, it's true. It's just the truth. But now this is in Congress, okay? And so if you're at all thinking, okay, maybe we need to rein in some of our particular problems with immigration, especially coming from particular countries. Yeah, I think another shining example of it right here. And really, this video just speaks for itself. So let's just keep on playing. And again, this is one of the times where I have very little to say because literally just sit back and be like, yeah, this is what the Democrats believe about immigration. You're first of all just hearing what he's saying, but also who he is, right? Apparently, this is who they believe are the model citizens that should be in Congress, right? They should be representing Americans in the American government, and they sound like this, and they speak like this, and they're this unintelligible. And it's almost laughable to a degree, but maybe it would be funnier if not for the fact that at the same time, as Sean Hannity rightly points out, I mean, who ultimately is he defending when he says he wants to abolish ICE, when he even votes down things like the Lake and Riley Act and all of that? It's not just an issue of even illegal aliens. We're talking about illegal aliens who are sex offenders, murderers, serial criminals, and that's who this like cartoon character is advocating to keep in the country. So just keep that in mind as well. It's funny, but to a degree, it's also extremely dangerous.
That has been a victim murdered, raped, tortured by an illegal immigrant. Yes or no, Congressman? Did you ever call them?
I have met people. I am sure I have met people.
I'll take that as a no. All right. You actually said this, and you know I could talk to you all night about the dumb stuff you say. You voted against a bill mandating the deportation of illegal immigrants convicted of sex crimes. Can you explain that to me?
Well, I think his face explains it all. You know, maybe there's a reason for that.
Look, anybody who breaks U.S. laws, an immigrant that breaks U.S. laws, should be deported. Anyone that commits
That's not what you said. Sir, you voted against a bill that mandated the deportation of illegals convicted of sex crimes. Do you regret that vote now?
No, I don't regret that vote. Look, no bill is perfect, and many times.
What if it was your wife, your sister, your daughter that was raped? That's a sex crime. You want that person to stay?
Look, there are multiple things in a bill. I don't agree with every one of them.
Sir, you got to answer the question. If your wife, your daughter, your girlfriend, mother was raped by an illegal immigrant, you voted against a bill that would deport these illegals convicted of sex crimes. You're perfectly fine if they stay in the country.
Sean, look, I serve in Congress. I don't think you ever served in Congress. That's what you voted on,
though, right?
Most of the bills. Look,
Why
most
did
of
you
these
vote
bills
for that?
are not perfect
Why
bills.
did you vote for that? Why would you allow sex crime convicts to stay in the country that entered the country illegally? Why would you vote for that?
it was not, the bill did not just include that issue. There were other things in the bill. And so I cannot pick and choose. I don't have a veto where I can strike out one portion of a bill.
You would have voted against it otherwise? What was the big provision that prevented you from kicking these people out of our country?
Look, I don't memorize. I vote on thousands of bills.
Memorize. You don't know anything.
But look, I do believe.
Yeah, he doesn't have a clue because, I mean, are we even really sure that this guy cares about being in Congress? Or, it's just, I look at someone like this and I wonder, what compels you to think, I want to run for Congress. I want to be involved in government. Is it literally just for the money? Or, like, is he actually serious about being a politician? Frankly, I don't get that vibe. But again, I would point out it's utterly hilarious how every single time Democrats try to find a spokesperson on the immigration issue, it's either Congressman Shri Thanedar or Ilhan Omar, right? They can never find some model immigrant who actually, assimilated into American society and you can understand them when they speak and they didn't, marry their brother or murder a bunch of dogs, committing a very cruel and likely illegal lab experiment. Can you ever just find someone normal? But I guess the answer there is no, because frankly, the reality we've been pointing out is that the Democrat Party is just so morally corrupt and full of psychotic individuals that it's either like some mentally ill ICE activist who's just utterly insane, or on the flip side, their political coalition is either that or some freaking third worlder who clearly, he doesn't even know what's going on, right? He's like, does he even care about politics? We don't know. But it tells you a lot, I guess, about how unpalatable Democrat policies are to regular people. That this is the coalition they have to build. Is there a single normal person on Earth left who's affiliated with this party? We have no idea. But hey, might as well promote. Is this going to be the next Speaker of the House? Frankly, if Democrats win in the midterms. I think that would be perfect. It would perfectly fit, right? Like everything the party stands for. Hey, why does Hakeem Jeffries get to be Speaker of the House? Wasn't he born in America? Shouldn't, you guys represent the diversity you're all about? I mean, that should be it right here, right? So here you go.
That such criminals must be deported. There is no doubt about it.
Well, you voted against it. So obviously you don't. I got another question for you. In the first case in Minneapolis, where this woman accelerated her car at the ICE agent. That ICE agent was injured. Did you know that? Do you know what the injuries were?
Do
you know what the injuries were?
That's the only source of that information is DHS, and DHS secretary lies. She lied to me on my face.
You're accused. So you're saying that the internal.
She lied on your face. What? I don't think that's true.
Bleeding reports are lies. You don't believe them.
I have seen no evidence of that. It is only coming from DHS.
Well, let me ask you this. You're a lawmaker. Do you believe in the rule of law and that a person's innocent until they're proven guilty, sir?
Absolutely. But look,
then why did you call this ICE agent, why did you call him a murderer? Because there was a 4,000-pound vehicle that was being driven right at him. Why did you call him a murderer?
Look, lots of people saw that video. America saw that video. 82%
why did you call
of Americans.
That? If you believe in due process, why did you say he's a murderer?
Well, her last words were, I have nothing against you, dude. She said it in a very civil manner. This person pulled out
and
his
then
gun
accelerated
and shot her 4 times.
Right at the officer. Clear as day.
Okay, and the last words likely of the 9/11 terrorists were Allahu Akbar, which means God is great. Are you going to get on and say, oh, well, all they were saying was God is great? What an utterly ridiculous thing to say. Oh, yeah, criminals lie. Liberals, especially, they do this thing all the time. Well, they act extremely calmly passive-aggressive and then inflict violence towards you. But, I would say, frankly, in a court of law, if you really do believe in, due process and all that, as Sean Hannity points out, first of all, you called this person a murderer immediately when the investigation is still ongoing and there's been, no charges filed and all that. But, of course, secondly, right, it would not be evidence in court of law to just say, oh, well, the person said I have nothing against you, right? So if you just break into someone's house and say, I love you, you're a really cool guy, and just shoot them, does that just suddenly make them not a murderer? I mean, what a ridiculous argument to even make. But look, why am I even entertaining it, frankly? Because clearly this person doesn't believe in the American justice system or the long history of English common law, right? They believe in third world justice. Just straight up. How does it work in the third world, right? You're guilty until proven innocent. If the authorities or powers that be or even the mob in the streets thinks you're guilty, then you're guilty. And so, why should it be surprising that he comes over here and then just engages in the same exact behavior? It shouldn't be. I mean, after all, why? Well, the American justice system comes largely the structure of it from where, right? England. What is England fundamentally? A colonial power. They're imperialists. So you need to decolonize your justice system by, instead just declaring that people you don't like immediately are murderers. So there you go, right?
Hey, can't miss it.
He was trying
what the problem is, Congressman?
He was trying to open the door.
I'm going to tell you something. It's people like you and your rush to judgment and your language. And you're defending, even his own wife called him a wife beater, Kilmar Abrego Garcia, your buddy. It's people like you that don't care about the American people. And then you attack the brave men and women. I was scrolling all of the victims of crime, and you never lifted a phone to call one victim, one family. You call ICE agents murderers, and they're out there. They're putting their lives on the line. They are arresting murderers, rapists, cartel members, drug members, known terrorists, and you have zero appreciation. And now the threat level against them is up a whopping 8,000%, and I blame people like you for that. You incite them. Well, look, your incendiary comments. I find it nauseating, and you should be ashamed of yourself.
Well, look, ICE is murdering people, murdering American citizens. They murdered an U.S. citizen, a mom with 3 children.
Okay. What? They did what now? I'm sorry. Could you repeat? Hold on. Let's see if we can actually understand what he said there. Hold on.
Incendiary comments. I find it nauseating, and you should be ashamed of yourself.
Well, look, ICE is murdering people, murdering American citizens. They murdered an U.S. citizen, a mom with 3 children. Okay. That's not acceptable.
In your view, you know what, sir? I see a very different tape than you. I saw a guy whose life was in jeopardy, and he defended himself. That's the difference between us. Thank you for coming on.
He might have been making some really good arguments if we could understand him, but I guess we'll never know. Right? Now, look, I think conservatives are increasingly growing of the opinion, and I totally agree that in order to run for office in the United States of America, we should extend basically the requirement that we put down for the presidency, which is you have to be a natural born citizen, right? No more, first generation immigrants basically being in political office. I mean, look, you can come to the United States, you can stay under certain immigration policies that we would support, right? But running for office, really, imagine me just getting up and moving to Japan tomorrow, or to China, or to Poland or Russia or some random country, just being like, yeah, I immediately want to run for political office. It's a bit strange. But here's the thing, right? If you disagree with that stance, or if you want to defend that policy, which Democrats obviously do, right? They think that people who immigrate here should be able to basically run for political office immediately the moment they get citizenship. Just notice how, again, every single time, they can't find anyone who's not like a cartoonishly bad example of someone immigrating to this country, clearly not even liking this country, and then running for political office, right? I mean, when that comes to mind, who do you think of, right? Shri Thanedar, Ilhan Omar, Zoran Mamdani, right? Amazing cases, apparently, for why non-natural born citizens should be running for office. It's just utterly insane. Now,
I don't know. What are the 5 gross points cities?
Well, look, I'm not here to answer a quiz. I'm here to say that I'm going to fight for the people of Detroit. I'm going to fight for my constituents.
And Grosse Pointe
and all of the Grosse
Taylor.
Points and all of Taylor and every
E-course,
part,
yeah.
every part of the 13th district.
I'm just do this real quick. Grosse Pointe Park, Grosse Pointe Woods, Grosse Pointe Farms, and Grosse Pointe Shores. Okay.
That's right.
You know, on your campaign filings, it says occupation. Yours says United States government. Aren't you employed by the people of the United States?
Yeah, I am.
Okay, you fix that one. Okay, and finally, you're getting nailed with this one. The beagles. You abandoned the beagles, left them to die in their cages at your pharmaceutical
I love
testing.
animals. You look at
And yeah, again, just remember, this is the exact type of country that Democrats want you to live in. This is a model example of who they love to import into this country. Someone where it's like, you can't understand him, he doesn't understand you, he can't even answer a basic question from you, but simultaneously is highly involved in political issues and is basically advocating to destroy you, hates your country, and wants to see every fundamental building block of it toppled, at the same time while not even really understanding what he's doing, because he's basically just some absolute moron from the third world who doesn't even know what he's really doing, right? That's what we're dealing with.
And we must, finally, we must reform ICE. But it looks at this stage, folks, ICE is beyond reform. ICE is totally out of control. And this week, I intend to introduce a bill to abolish ICE. We need to make ICE go away. 2003, before 2003, without ICE, various federal agencies were able to take care of business, and we can do this without ICE. But we do not need the murderers. We do not need this paramilitary organizations, members on our street.
Before 2003, have you even been in this country since 2003? Like, what on earth are you talking about? And again, I love that so much. So you have here 3 Democrat congressmen standing behind him, all of which, even including Representative Al Green, who are significantly more intelligible and less of an embarrassment than this character right here. And they just think to themselves, oh, let's put Shri Thanedar up. Let's let him talk. Let's let him be apparently a great ambassador of liberal immigration policy. And so he is. So there you essentially have it, though, guys. Let me know your thoughts on this absolute character in the comment section down below. Be sure to leave a like on this video, subscribe to the channel if you are new. And until next time, God bless and peace.